Hi everyone, welcome to our channel BA Civil Engineer. In this video, we are going to discuss about different types of buildings. So when you are doing or when you are dealing with building planning, one has to know in detail about various types of buildings, what are there, and what on basis of the purpose of the particular building, on which purpose these are going to be used, or on basis of uh, mode of construction we are having different types of buildings, or we are having different classification. So that we'll see here in detailed manner in this video. So here you can see on the screen. So buildings are classified based upon its occupancy and structure. So buildings are classified based upon occupancy as different types. Firstly, residential building, educational building, institutional building, assembly building, business building, mercantile building, industrial buildings, storage buildings, hazardous buildings. So on basis of the purpose for which they are going to be used, we are going to classify the buildings as said here. So here you can see residential buildings. So the buildings which were used for residential purpose, those are called residential buildings. Educational buildings means the buildings which are used for educational institutions. Institutional buildings means uh, organizations, for which for organizations if you are using, then it is called institutional buildings. Assembly buildings for public gatherings. Business buildings or trade buildings where business is going to be done. Mercantile buildings, similarly industrial buildings where industry works and industries are going to be established. And storage buildings where the main purpose is storage of materials. Hazardous buildings where dangerous activities or uh, dangerous tests, everything is going to be done. These are different types of buildings. Here you can see residential buildings. So residential buildings means buildings in which sleeping arrangements are provided with or without cooking arrangements. It includes single or multi-storied family dwelling apartments, lodgings, restaurants, hostels, dormitories, hotels, etc. All these are places where people uh, will be provided with a sleeping facility and also cooking facility. Then those buildings are called residential buildings. Next one, educational buildings. Educational buildings means these include any building used for school, college, educational purposes, for colleges, for educational institutions, engineering colleges or degree colleges or school buildings, whatever we are constructing for education purpose, all that comes under educational buildings. Third one we can see institutional buildings. So these buildings are used for the purpose such as medicinal or other treatment. If any treatment is there, hospitals, sanatoriums, jails, all this comes under institutional buildings. Next one, assembly buildings. So these are the buildings where people meet or gather for amusement, social, religious, political, civil, travel, and similar purposes. Example, theaters, movie theaters, multiplex, motion picture houses, assembly halls, restaurants, assembly halls, meeting halls. All these comes under assembly buildings. Function halls also comes under these assembly buildings. Next one, business buildings. So business buildings means where trade is going to be done. Trade transactions are going to be done and accounting is going to be done. Those are called business buildings. So buildings used for transaction of business and for keeping accounts of a similar or other purpose. For this business purpose, accounting, transactions, everything what are going on, then those buildings are called business buildings or trade buildings. Next one, mercantile buildings. These buildings are used for shops, stores, markets, or for display and sale of merchandise, either wholesale or retail, office, shops, storage services, etc. etc. Mercantile buildings means small shopping complex will be there where a number of shops will be provided where mercantile is going to be done, merchandise is going to be done, shopping is going to be done. shopping complexes will be there, Raitu Bazars will be there. All these comes under mercantile buildings. Next one, industrial buildings. These buildings are which products of materials of all kinds and properties are fabricated, assembled, manufactured and processed. So where the materials are going to be products or materials are going to be manufactured, manufacturing units, industrial buildings, commercial buildings, or where we are going to produce or assembling or fabricating some things. Textile industries are there. Similarly, petroleum industries are there. Similarly, we are having so many metal industries or metal units, metallic tools will be formed, fabricated. Similarly, assembling of mobiles or mobile units are there. All these comes under industrial buildings. Storage buildings. These buildings are used for primarily for storage or sheltering of goods, wares or merchandise, vehicles and animals, grains, etc. Mainly food storage, cold storage buildings will be there, where we'll be keeping or preserving the food materials for days together. Similarly, storage buildings will be there, goods storage buildings will be there, where vehicles will be stored or other animals or shell or tools which are prepared, that will be stored. Storerooms will be there. All that comes under storage buildings. Next, hazardous buildings, the buildings which are used for storage, handling, manufacturing and processing of highly combustible or explosive materials or products. Explosive materials means which may catch fire easily. So like petroleum products will be stored under particular separate silos will be there. Similarly, in thermal plants, coal will be there. All that will be stored in separate units or separate buildings. Those buildings are called hazardous buildings, where chances of combustion is very much high or explosive materials are going to be used there. Those materials will be stored in particular rooms. Those rooms are called hazardous buildings, or those buildings are called hazardous buildings. So another further classification based on the structure what you are constructing, which type of structure you are constructing in the field, based on that you are classifying the buildings as two types. First one, you can see load bearing structure, another one is framed structure. So load bearing structure means in this, the type of the structure, loads from the roofs or trusses and frames, floors are transmitted through walls to the firm soil. Means the load distribution, if you see the load distribution, how it is happening here, the load from the roof will be transferred to the walls below. From walls it will be transferred to the foundation below. From foundation it will be transferred to the subsoil below. So that is the way it was adopted there. Then those structures are called load bearing structures. So these type of structures are adopted mainly when the hard strata is available in that particular area, and hard strata is available at a shallow depth. If the rock strata is available at a shallow depth, then we can adopt this load bearing structures. So here in this construction, if you see the beams, slabs, similarly roof will be directly resting on the wall. No slab. Sometimes beams also will not be adopted. Directly walls, over that walls directly slab or roof will be provided. Here you can see the load bearing structure. Over that directly will be placing the roofing. Next, framed structure. So framed structures are more recent, and they are more commonly used nowadays. Reinforced cement concrete structures are the most common type of construction today. So they contain skeleton of beams and columns. So when we are constructing structure with reinforced concrete RCC, then we'll be adopting a framed structure. Framed structure means columns and beams will be casted first. Over that beams you are going to lay the slab directly. So here the load is going to be transferred from roof to the beam to the column to column. Like that it will be transferred to the ground directly without involvement of the walls. So then it is called framed structure. The load is transferred from, here you can see, the load is transferred from beams to the columns, and columns in turn transfer load directly to the subsoil through footing. So this is the main purpose here. This is the main purpose here, what is happening in the framework structure. The open spaces in the skeleton are to be filled with brick walls or glass panels. Whatever the material you are using for filling up the portions in between the skeleton, that can be adopted. Either it may be if you prefabricated, or either it may be brick construction, or it may be panel construction. So here you can see it is the framework structure where beams and columns are going to be laid, and over that slabs are going to be directly laid, and now the load will be transferred. Here you can see the load will be transferred from this way. So the load will be transferred from the roof to the columns, from columns roof to the beams, from beams to the columns, columns to the footings, so footings to the subsoil. So this is the way the load is going to be transferred here in the case of framework structures. So this is about load bearing walls and framework structure, load bearing wall type construction, load bearing construction, and framework structure construction. So this is about different types of buildings which are useful when you are dealing with building.